Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 75th episode of the Wise Guys Sports Show here on the Wise Guys YouTube channel. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican on Sports, Mike Martinez, and without any further ado, let me bring in my co-host, Mr. JC Blue Note, Jim Cornetti. And James, as you said in the description, diamonds are forever, and so are the Wise Guys. Happy 75th, bud.
Happy diamond anniversary, buddy. It's we'll be at 100 before you know it, and we've only got 2 weeks until our summer hiatus too.
That's very true. But for the diamond episode, James, we had to go into the extensive bag of tricks for the Wise Guys and bring on the Godfather. Ladies and gentlemen, our brother from another mother, Mr. Willie Epting Jr.
What's up, gentlemen? How you guys doing, man? Thank you for having me on the 75th Diamond.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. And I got to ask you a question. Are you happy I told him to make sure that you didn't hear the Ho Train be yelled before he played that music for you?
Well, you know, I'm either I like to get it all when I can, but
here was the two of us on the phone yesterday morning at the office. He's saying, make sure that you try to find the instrumental version where he doesn't say Ho Train.
because Mr. Italian Blood up in the top corner there said no actual Godfather music. I refuse.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, man. You guys have been crushing it, and I'm really proud of what you guys have done and what you're continuing to do, and look forward to the success that's going to be coming you guys' way.
Thank you very, very much, my friend.
And as much fun as we just had, Willie, unfortunately, Jim and I have started doing something at the beginning of every episode the last 3 weeks, and we're not happy about it. So, Jim, why don't you we have more production value, Willie, since you've been here last.
Really? Let's hear it.
Yes, Jim, hit it.
It's the 3 biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
Thank you.
I love it.
And the thing that we unfortunately have done the last 3 episodes in a row is an in memoriam to open the show. As this past week, we lost the greatest living baseball player left with us as Willie Mays passed away at the age of 93. The numbers on the bottom speak for themselves. I am not just wearing the Mets thing because I couldn't find my Grimace costume. I am wearing the Mets gear because this was the last uniform Willie wore. In 72 and 73, and the Mets in 2022 retired his number 24, and it will hang at Citi Field in perpetuity. So, Willie, I'd like to go to you first. Growing up and being a fan of the Bay Area.
Hello, Oliver.
He's contractually obligated every episode.
He has his own segment.
He does. I'd like to start with you and discuss Willie's impact to the Bay Area, as you are a Bay Area fan, having grown up in that area yourself.
Yeah, I remember my dad. I never got a chance to see Mr. Mays play. I mean, that was a little bit before my time. But I remember my dad and my uncle talking about the greatness that he was, not just on the diamond, but off of it as well. All those years in San Francisco before moving over to New York. I mean, when you think about Willie Mays and when you hear about Willie Mays, you think instantly about the catch in center field where he spun around like a top and then heaved the ball back into the infield. But Willie Mays was more than just that. I mean, I was listening to something somewhere. Don't quote me or don't ask me where it was, but they said that as a center fielder, Willie Mays' range was from the left field line to the right field line, and basically saying that that's how much ground he could cover as a center fielder. And his numbers speak for themselves. I mean, 24 All-Star appearances. And I don't think his Negro League stats are even included in his career major league stats as of yet. I don't know how many years he played. I don't know what type of numbers he put up in the Negro Leagues, but at some point that's got to be added to it. But 660 home runs, third all time, and was third all time. Was second all time for a long time. 660 is a lot. And when you think about the Gold Gloves and the something that we don't really talk enough about, in my opinion, is this stolen bases. He led the league 3 different years in stolen bases back there in the 50s. So a true iconic figure, not just of baseball, but really not just sports, but in the community and as in the society as a whole.
No, agreed. And Jim, I saw you. I just want to put this one thing in there. So you see those numbers: the 660 home runs, a 12 times Gold Glove, 2 times NL MVP. What we miss is that he missed 2 full seasons to military service during the Korean War.
Yeah,
easily would have beaten Babe Ruth's record. He probably would have stole closer to 450 to 500 bags had he not, served his country, as I know a lot of players in that time did. But, Jim, I want to go to you. And Willie brought up the catch. Those were the Cleveland Indians.
Right.
That was Vic Wirtz. So, Jim, you're the stat guy. Throw some numbers at us. Tell me what you remember or what you were told growing up about Willie.
I honestly was not told a whole lot because my father was not really a baseball fan. Lifetime average of 301, 3,293 hits, 1,909 RBIs, 339 stolen bases. And keep in mind, those 660 home runs were in very, very deep parks back then, hitting with heavier wooden bats, dead ball era, which just makes it even more impressive for him to be able to put up those kind of numbers. And I'm not going to try and throw shade, but, the only 2 guys ahead of him are, three at this point, Ruth, Aaron, and his godson. And put whatever kind of asterisk you want next to his godson, still 700 and nearly 60, bombs. You still have to put the bat on the ball.
Agreed. And you figure Pujols is up there now too, who might be the greatest right-hand hitter, definitely of our generation. But think about this, Willie, too.
I'm sorry, Willie, to backpack one on you one moment. He only played 1 year in the Negro Leagues, 1948.
Okay.
And I want to say that was the year he played full-time, because he was playing part-time on the weekends in high school. Mm-hmm. He was 16, 17 years old playing part-time in the Negro Leagues. And then, of course, he plays in 49, and then in 50, he gets signed by the Giants. And in 51, the funniest thing I ever heard, he's hitting 470 at AAA for the Giants. And Leo DeRocher calls down and goes, "Come on up." He goes, "I'm not ready." He said, "Can you hit 250 in the big leagues?" He said, "Yeah, get on the train." Is basically how the conversation went. Mm-hmm. Jim, you talked about the parks. The Polo Grounds was an absolute cavern. It was disgustingly huge. If you play the show, you've seen the Polo Grounds. The Mets played their first 2 years in the Polo Grounds, so I've seen pictures. But the center field was an absolute. You couldn't hit it out of center field in the Polo Grounds.
Put Willie at that bandbox that they've actually got in San Francisco right now, and he's got 800 home runs.
Yeah, and then he went to, what was it? Was it Sportsman Park in San Francisco, and then Candlestick?
Yeah.
It's just, and the fact that, being the psychotic Met fan that I am, those last 2 years, Joan Payson, the original owner of the Mets, was a minority owner of the Giants, was the only dissenting vote in moving from New York to San Francisco. She had vowed to Willie she would get him to the Mets, and she vowed to Willie she would retire his number. And it took Steve and Alex Cohen coming through on that promise on Old Timers Day in 2022. So this one hit me. This one, Seaver is the one that hit me the hardest, obviously, but this one hit me the other day.
You know what's funny? If you look at the three of us and the three memoriams we've done in the last 3 weeks, Willie this week got you, Jerry West probably got Willie, and Bill Walton crushed me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And honestly, Willie, one of the reasons we wanted you to come on was obviously 75th anniversary. But when this happened, I said, yeah, we got to get somebody on that lived in the area that can talk about the impact. Was he your dad's favorite player?
My dad never really mentioned a favorite player, but he did revere him. I mean, he talked very highly of him, and him and my uncle, you guys may or may not remember the backstory, but him and my dad and my uncle started a semi-pro baseball team when we lived in Oakland. And that's when I first fell in love with the sport of baseball. But he would talk about Willie Mays and even Hank Aaron and Reggie Jackson and all. I mean, they knew Reggie Jackson personally. But in terms of his favorite player, he never really mentioned a favorite player that I can remember. But he did talk highly about Willie Mays. He is still a base. He'll throw you out. He will hit it out of the park in all three things at one time almost. So
exactly,
he was that type of a fan of Willie Mays. But to say if he was his favorite player or not, that I can't recall.
10-second hypothetical for both of you guys. Who takes over the mantle as the greatest living player?
Ooh,
that's tough.
I'm going to start. And this is biased because I was at his Hall of Fame induction. Ken Griffey Jr.
You're hard-pressed to say against that. I'm going to be a lot more controversial, and I'm going to say, well, greatest living player or greatest living Hall of Famer?
Yeah,
greatest living player.
Pete Rose.
And I said it exactly like that.
Yeah.
Pete Rose.
You know what? You said controversial. I'm going to get real controversial. It's Barry Bonds.
I knew
it's Barry Lamar Bonds.
If you two could have read my mind, I said, I'm asking this question. And I just laid out exactly what everybody's answers are going to be in my head. I knew Jim was going to say Pete Rose. I knew you were going to say Barry Bonds. And I will go to my grave saying that George Kenneth Griffey Jr. is the greatest living player of all time.
And the fact that you used the full name and you gave him the Nicholas Jamal Chubb treatment on this show.
Listen, do you know when I went to induction in 2016, because obviously I was going as Piazza. I was still living in New York. When the Met fans got up and left, the 7 line who did a trip, I didn't go with them, with my old man and my father-in-law. We started booing people. How dare you walk out on Ken Griffey? What, are you crazed? No, I sat there for his entire speech. Half my face was burnt to crisp. The other half wasn't because of where the sun was. I looked like the Phantom of the Opera. It was quite hilarious. But this is a guy, I mean, if you think about it, with where Jim and I are as far as, and even you, Willie, because you're not that much older than us, this was, I mean, him and Barry Bonds have the moments with, you knew where you were when it happened. I was in Mayfield Heights when Barry Bonds hit the home run off Mike Bassick of the Washington Nationals to break the Hank Aaron's record. I remember being 11 years old and seeing on SportsCenter him and his father go back to back. And Devon White of the then California Angels trying to get over the fence to get seniors home run and then watching juniors go. And it's with Pete, I remember Mark Littell giving up the base hit to break the record. I remember Pete being the player manager of the Reds in the mid 80s. Everybody remembers where they were when Bart Giamatti suspended them. But those are the 3 players you're going to have this argument. Somebody made an argument for Johnny Bench because he's the greatest at that position of all time.
You know what?
There's no argument.
I'm not so much to backtrack here, but I'm going to actually pull my name back because I just thought of one, and I didn't even think of this when I was whistling through it. Ichiro Suzuki.
Another argument could be made. He dominated in 2 countries. And that cannon, ask Terrence Long about that cannon.
Exactly. He was I thought he was a better defensive player than Pete Rose. He didn't have, nearly the level of power numbers. The average numbers were there, and he never really diminished. It's just you needed a guy to get on base and move runners over, and he was it.
And what I admire about Ichiro Suzuki is the fact that he chose to be a hitter for average, because he very well could have been one of those guys that hit 285 to 300 with 25 homers a year and 90 plus RBIs. He could have been that guy, but he chose, in essence, to be a great hitter, or he chose to be a great batter as opposed to a great hitter.
Yeah. No, it's something to see. He was something to see too. I mean, we could have this debate for hours about who the greatest living player is. I think our first choices, though, Jim, are the ones our hearts are telling us.
Yeah,
our heads are telling us there could be somebody else in it.
It's like trying to pour a gallon in a shot glass. We're gonna forget some names because things are gonna spill out.
Well, and think about it this way: Mike Schmidt never even crossed anybody's mind.
Yeah.
Second most Gold Gloves in the history of the position, and over 500 dingers,
and probably the best third baseman that we've seen anyway.
Exactly, because we were all too young for Brooksy.
548 home runs career.
You just pulled that off the top of your head. That is so impressive. Like there are only 3 players' numbers I can pull off the top of my head. I can pull Seaver's 311 off the top of my head. I can pull Piazza's 396 as a catcher. And I can pull David Wright's 17-19 for his hits. That's it.
Man, we could that's you know what? I'm gonna have to bring you guys on to the #Brother Baseball show, and we're just gonna do a nerd show with nothing but numbers. Because I'm thinking
you know what people are gonna be saying when we spout up all those numbers?
Do it. No, Jim, do the new one.
Wide world of sports is going on here.
Willie, the soundboard's gotten interesting.
Yeah, I can tell. That's awesome. That's growth. That's a lot of growth.
It's a lot of immaturity too.
Yeah, well, you have to be immature before you can grow.
That's true.
So don't make this about a life coaching session, okay?
Okay.
No, but what I was gonna say on the heels of what you guys are saying about the numbers, some of the notable numbers that we're used to talking about all the time, of course, 73 in one season, 66, 64 between Sosa and McGuire, 390 with George Brett back in whenever it was. I remember Mike Schmidt that year that they won the World Series in 1980. He hit 48 that year. We're nerds, and my wife says you're a nerd. I'm like, no, I'm not. I've just got a lot of useless information, but I think that might be what a nerd is.
No, it really is. It really is. I will say this: I've tried to use my nerddom to monetary growth, but the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is the Jeopardy online test. It's god awful.
I can't remember where I saw it. It was guy was asking a girl, like, what are your ick factors, like, for guys or something, if you were single, and she's like, I like nerds. I just don't like when they get nerdy. So you don't want us to be ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Jim, speaking of ick factors, let's go to the second topic. God damn it.
Oh, man.
My picture outside the door here has now got to get updated.
Yeah. I personally like the scene in the Lakers documentary they did on HBO Max when they all yelled, fuck Boston.
Yeah.
But yes, the Boston Celtics win their 18th title, win it in 5 over the Dallas Mavericks. How about this? They had the worst ass beating in the history of the NBA Finals given to them in Game 4, and then they win Game 5 without even breaking a sweat. 16-3 throughout the.
But that was also something that they could have done whatever they wanted to. It's unlike what our next topic is going to be with the Stanley Cup Finals. But this was something where Boston could have actually. They lost 3 games in these playoffs by 10 to Miami, 24 to Cleveland, 34 in Game 3 to Dallas. They lose game 2 to Cleveland, and go on a 10-game winning streak and won 10 games in these playoffs by double digits. You had to know that they were going to throw up a stinker, and that's why Joe Mazzulla pulled everybody at halftime.
Yeah, so Willie, I want to talk to you about this because I think you hate the Celtics nearly as much as I do. And
that would be that's an affirmative.
Yeah, and by the way, this is only half of this NBA topic we want to talk to you about. So let's talk about, is this Celtics team, who, by the way, played everybody and their mother when they were hurt, with the exception of Dallas, is this a team that can continue this, or do you think this is a flash in the pan? They go back to what they were the last few years after this?
Or C, somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Because I say that, and I know it's very Washington, D.C.-ish, like a politically correct answer. But when you look at the fact that, okay, Donovan Mitchell was out, Giannis Antetokounmpo was out, Joel Embiid was out, Jimmy Butler was out,
Halliburton
Jared
was
Allen,
Julius Randle from the Knicks was hurt, and I know they didn't play each other, or did they?
No,
they did not. But I know that some of those players they didn't face those teams. But I don't like putting asterisks next to anything when it comes to sports, because whatever happened when it happened, it was allowed by that sport. That's my whole thing with the Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and everybody else that did what they did. The sport allowed it. So I won't say it's a flash in the pan. The East could potentially get a lot more difficult, especially if you read the eyes of Joel Embiid on the set of Countdown when he looked at Paul George and was like, yo, we need to get a piece in here. Looked at him. If Paul George comes to the Philadelphia 76ers, instantaneously become the team next to the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. They instantaneously become
scary. Damn it. Jim, why does this happen when the Cavs are good?
With all due respect, Willie, I looked at the free agency period out there. You got Paul George, you got LeBron, you've got Harden, you've got Klay Thompson, you've got all guys that are in double-digit years on the back half of their careers, and basically you're doing 1 or 2 year rentals trying to be able to get whatever. How many times is Joel Embiid going to bring in super teams, Ben Simmons, James Harden? I'm tired of actually hearing, and this is not Boston homer guy, because although the only Boston teams I follow are the Red Sox, and I've been a diehard Celtics fan since '86. I still will put we've said it on this show multiple times. I think that '86 Celtics team was the greatest team ever assembled, even better than their '68 team. I think that this is something that Boston is the class of the NBA. I think they have the core to be able to run this back, because here's something that everyone forgot. Drew Holiday was the only player on that roster who has already touched the Larry O'Brien trophy. All other 13 contracted players won their first title the other night. Al Horford, old man Horford, in his 17th year, finally got it. He may only have 1 year left. There's going to be other guys that want to come in and join this group. When you've got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, basically in the top 5 of every statistical category in the finals: points, rebounds, assists, minutes played. How is anybody going to compete with that, regardless of who you put together? I understand that everybody was hurt, but Boston did this. Boston was the one that did not get hurt. The only one of any significance that got hurt was Porzingis, and they realized that he didn't play for nearly 6 weeks, and they still were just as dominant. The Celtics finished the regular season with a 14-game lead over the Knicks for second, which is the second largest lead in NBA history, right behind the 1992 Chicago Bulls, who finished 14 games ahead of the Celtics, which was Michael's second title.
If I may.
You big dummy.
I am so sorry that you feel that way, because I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you about the first Warriors championship. Play a healthy fucking team. Play a healthy team. And Willie's right. You don't put an asterisk on it. It's what happened. But Jim, I told you this before the series, and I was 100% right. If the Cavs were healthy, that's going 7 games, and those guys' sphincters get real tight late in the playoffs. They've done it for years and years. Now, do they, with the championship, take some of that stress off? Absolutely. But again, when they get one of these teams that's a matchup nightmare for them, that is fully healthy, let's see how they respond. First of all, and Paul George with Embiid, again, scary. Jim's got a point, though, about Embiid bringing in superstars and it falling in her face. Don't put Ben Simmons in there. He's the only point guard who can't shoot a 3 to save his life. Or stay healthy, for that matter. Paul George would be a different animal in Philly. Would be an absolutely different animal in Philly. And let's see what our boys do with the backcourt situation and who's going to go where, or if they just keep it together. But we only got Willie for a couple more minutes. So, Jim, let's pivot. Hit it.
I don't have a graphic for it, but
let's pivot to the Los Angeles Lakers hiring Duke God, JJ Redick as the head coach. I knew you were going to.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait.
Emotional damage.
You need to be Kermit the Frog and have a cup of tea right there, Willie, because I just felt it.
All of the above, man. All of the above. No, it's not just the fact that JJ Redick went to Duke.
Is it because he played for the Clippers?
It's not the fact that JJ Redick was one of the targets of a whole bunch of hate as a player with the Blue Devils. It's not even the fact that this is his first time as a head coach on any level. It is the fact that what are the Lakers actually thinking for the long run? LeBron, and he signed a 4-year deal. Okay, there has not been a Laker coach that has exceeded 2 years since Phil Jackson. What's that? 2,000 years ago? And this is no knock on JJ Redick, because by all accounts, I mean, he graduated from Duke, so you know he's not a dummy. He had a really, really good career. He's made over 1,900 threes in his career. He was the subject of a lot of boxing ones when he played in college. It's not about him as an individual, but to have no coaching experience on any level that is of significance. I'm not talking about your son's YMCA team. I'm talking about something to the effect of at least intramural ball in college or something to that degree. And the fact that he and LeBron James do a podcast together, people are like, yo, they are able to dissect offenses, and JJ Redick is a brain, and he obviously gets along with LeBron James. LeBron James has 2 years at minimum left in Los Angeles, or at maximum, should I say. He's got 2 years left at maximum in LA. This hire does not push the Lakers any closer to a championship. If you ask me, it actually pushes them a little further away. Because not to spit on JJ's credentials and everything that he's accomplished, but as a Laker fan, I want somebody that's been there before. Monty Williams just got fired from the Pistons.
With 4 years left on that deal.
And he's still owed $65 million. If I was Monty Williams, I'm like, man, I ain't doing nothing. I ain't doing jack. But yeah, I mean, the Lakers will be a play-in team or play-in candidate or play-in game contender at best in 24-25.
Who was your hire?
I don't know. I mean, because I don't know off the top of my head of all of the other candidates. I know there was an assistant coach from the Warriors.
James Borrego.
Yeah, there was an assistant coach from, I want to say, the Timberwolves. Then there's Monty Williams, of course. But those are the only 3 that really jump off the page at me. So I really can't say who I would have rather have had. But I can tell you who I would rather have not had.
JB Bickerstaff.
You can have JB if you want.
Nah. I mean, I don't know how JB and LeBron's personalities would have meshed.
They wouldn't have. Was when Dan Hurley was rumored to be the guy, were you excited?
I was, because he's a winner. He's proven. I don't care what level you are. If you're going to win 2 championships back to back, you know what the hell you're doing. I don't know if JJ knows what he's doing.
And let's also be honest, that what Dan Hurley did in the NCAA tournament back in April was borderline cruel and unusual punishment to college basketball.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes,
no, it really was. And the thing is, and Willie, we're going to wrap this up here with you. Thank you for the time tonight. It is, dude, doors open. Doors open. And as Jim had mentioned, our 100th episode is coming down the pipe. It's going to be lunacy, and we will be including you in it, because God knows what the 2 of us. And also tune in Labor Day weekend. We will be doing a live reaction to the Kobayashi Joey Chestnut hot dog eating contest on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
We're dead. I'm dead serious. We figured out how to do 2 cameras and everything. It's just
wow.
There's a possibility Mike and I might be doing our own.
Count me in.
Amen.
Until I'm counted out.
Exactly. Willie, thank you so much, sir. We do appreciate it to have the Godfather in our presence.
I appreciate you guys, man. Y'all keep crushing it, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Willie.
Take it easy, Willie. Have a great weekend. Stay cool, my friend.
All right, man. Y'all too.
I love when he's here. Because
he
we
keeps
always
us on point.
He keeps us on point, number 1. And number 2, whenever you and I change stuff like the soundboard or the production, he actually is quite impressed. I find that to be fun. One last thing about the Celtics real quick.
Comes back on, we'll actually have some of the other graphics that we've talked about.
Yes, we will.
That might actually be on my agenda for tomorrow. It'll certainly be on my agenda when we have our summer hiatus in a few weeks.
Yeah. And anybody out there still watching or listening after Willie left, him and I are still going to talk like every fucking day anyway. But one more thing about the Celtics, and then we can jump from there. Let's see what happens after free agency and what they have going into next year. Jim, I'll be honest with you. I think we all thought going into this tournament that the Celtics were going to win the whole damn thing just because of how dominant they were during the regular season. I will go to my grave saying this, though. I think the Cavs, fully healthy, could have beaten them. I honestly believe that. And that's not just homerism. That is me watching what went down during that series with Jared Allen, with a healthy Donovan Mitchell. they could have cut them up on the inside, because if you notice, the nights that Luka and Kyrie were actually able to get to the basket were the nights that the Celtics struggled. Those were close games, and 2, 3, and 4 was a fucking blowout. But 2 and 3 were close games because Kyrie and Luka were getting to the bucket. That Cavs team could have done that. And I think they're better defensively than Dallas is too.
Here's my question to kind of put a bow on this, and this is not, again, my Celtics homerism. How in the hell does Jaylen Brown win the MVP over Jason Tatum?
Simple. They fucked up.
Yeah, there's Tatum had better. He played more minutes. He played nearly 10 more minutes, scored 2 more points, averaged a rebound and a half more, had 2 more assists than Brown, and did not win the MVP.
Who did Brown play face up on playing defense?
I think he was on Kyrie, wasn't he?
There you go. Brown put up those numbers and locked Kyrie down. That's why he won it. I mean, it really comes down to the NBA Finals MVP outside of guys who take over, i.e., LeBron in 2016 or in 2020. KD in those 2 finals where they beat the Cavs because, they had a fucking all-star team. They took over. The guys who are winning it, who don't take over or have like stats of somebody else on their team, they're usually playing well on the defensive end as well. I mean, come on. Kawhi Leonard and Andre Iguodala won finals MVPs for keeping LeBron at 38, 5, and 10. I mean, come on.
Big ups, though, to Joe Mazzulla, second youngest coach to ever win the NBA Finals, only behind Bill Russell by 6 months.
Well, Joe Mazzulla was in was it Kyrie's draft class?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Becomes the second straight Celtics coach to get their first championship, and the first since Doc Rivers in 2008. And keep this in mind, and I brought this up in the sports note, and the video was posting literally as we were going on the air, that Joe Mazzulla's winning percentage in his first 2 years in the NBA, he's 121-43. That's .738. It's the highest winning percentage in league history for any coach with at least 150 games. He's also 27-12 for .692 in the playoffs already. And as great as Doc Rivers is as a coach and as many playoffs as he's got, that 2008 title is still his only championship as a head coach.
Yeah, but take a look at some of the other teams he ran into. I mean, after that 2008 championship, you're talking about he ran into, 2009, they lost to Orlando, who went to that finals. 10, Orlando didn't go to that finals. Did they? No, they lost the next year. They lost in the finals to Kobe. Then Orlando beat them, and then they ran into the Bosh Wade LeBron Heat. Then he went to the Clippers, and he goes to the Clippers, and all of a sudden, Golden State is a dynasty.
Yeah, I'm looking at Doc Rivers' record right now. He wins the finals in his 3rd year. Lost to the Magic in the semifinals in 2009, in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Lost in the finals to the Lakers in 10. Lost to LeBron's Heat in 11. Lost to LeBron in the semis. Lost to the LeBron Heat in 7 in the East Finals. Lost to
that was that Game 6 in Boston when he went crazy,
and then lost in the first round to the Knicks. But here's the other unsung hero. Remember, the guy who replaced him is now the architect of what we could be looking at as the next great dynasty, Brad Stevens.
Yeah, let's do this. And as much as I don't like the Boston Celtics, you know that. Brad Stevens was a phenomenal coach who ran into the LeBron juggernaut as a coach and has put together a hell of a roster. I mean, they're not going to have many holes, Jim, but I think the rest of the conference can get better and become a matchup nightmare for that team, especially if depending on what our boys do in the offseason.
Here's the thing is that they found a way to utilize Porzingis even as hurt. Jason Tatum is a top 3 player in this league, and he's getting better. Jaylen Brown is a top 15 player, and he's getting better, and he just won a Finals MVP. Find the hole.
Let's see what the bench looks like.
I'm sorry, I gotta pull it on myself. I sit for 2 minutes. I feel shame.
Hey, speaking of 2 minutes in the box, let's get to the next one. I have 3 words for you, James.
What the hell's going on?
I was going to say I have 3 words for you, James. What the fuck? This was over. We were talking sweep last week.
We were talking sweep 7 days ago.
And let me tell you something. Connor McDavid's a fucking dog.
My father called me 25 minutes before we went live. The YouTube video was finishing editing for the Sports Note, and he says that he watched Game 6 up at the casino in New York, and he's like, "Who's Connor McDavid?" I'm like, "The best player on the planet."
Let's talk about what this would be. So Sunrise is going to be a fucking insane asylum Monday night. I will tell you this. I'm putting the kid to sleep to sports the next 2 nights because the Mets and Cubs are the night game tomorrow night on ESPN. And Monday night, I will be watching Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. This is the first Game 7 in how long? It's been 13 series between the 4 majors, before another Game 7. I want to say the last Game 7 in the finals was 2016 with the Cavs. There hasn't been a Game 7, and has there been a Game 7 in any other finals since then? St. Louis, 2019. Okay. Then it's since 2019. That's the last Game 7 out of any of them. We haven't had a Game 7 in the World Series. We haven't had a Game 7 in the NBA Finals since 2016. We haven't had a Game 7 in the NHL since 2019.
I want to say, wasn't there a Game 7 in the NHL since 19? But I'm trying to pull it up.
I don't think so.
Knights win 4-1 last year. Avs over the Bolts 4-2. Lightning 4. No, it was Blues going into Boston 4-3. As a matter of fact, that's been the last Game 7 since the Bruins won over the Canucks in 2011, where you had a riot in Vancouver.
So basically, you had 2011 Vancouver. You had what's coming up Monday, and you had the Blues. Jim, let's talk. Let's have the conversation we've been having for the last 2 days.
Well, before we get into that, if there's ever, it's the most overused cliche in sports: flipping the switch. The first
they really did
this series. When we were talking to you guys last week, Florida had outscored Edmonton 11-4 in the first 3 games of this series. Edmonton has outscored Florida 18-5 in the
it's been sick.
Sergei Bobrovsky had given up 2 goals or fewer in 11 straight playoff games, and he is now looking like a beer league sieve. Is Connor McDavid about to rip the Conn Smythe away from Bobrovsky?
Yes.
Even in a losing effort, possibly?
If Bobrovsky stands on his head on Monday night, no, he'll still win it. Just because the Conn Smythe is a playoff MVP, not just a finals. his work in the Eastern Conference will put him over the top.
Yeah, but what about the stat that I brought up with you when I was at the store yesterday?
That Connor McDavid could break Gretzky's record for most points in the history in the playoffs.
He is only the third player in NHL Stanley Cup playoffs history to eclipse 40 points in an entire playoff series, in an entire playoff season.
And funny, they both played for the same team.
Yeah, it's through the first 3 games. The top 5 scorers in Edmonton's lineup, and I know I'm going to forget someone, but it was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, and I want to say Boucher had 1 assist. Connor McDavid's got back-to-back 4-point games.
Unreal. That goal in Game 4 was Game 4 the one when he went through the entire fucking defense?
That was the 8-1. That was the 8-1 blowout. Yeah,
that wasn't even fair.
Bobrovsky got pulled earlier than any playoff game in his career.
Oh my god! And that goal itself.
What about the one that he had? What about the one that he had on Friday night?
I'm trying to remember. I only watched the highlight package. I'm a bad boy.
He went through 3.
Oh, so he did it again.
Yeah.
Bro.
He's also, I want to say 4 out of the last 5 years, he's won fastest skater at the All-Star break, at the All-Star competition, as they've now officially started blowing the fireworks off down the street for Unity Day. So.
Oh, very nice.
Which actually means it's going to be a good night. It's going to cool off, and I'm going to have that gunpowder and sulfur smell, which I love.
You love the smell of napalm in the morning, don't you?
Gasoline, turpentine, paint thinner, rubber cement. Yeah, I'm a degenerate like that. But anyway, I digress.
He said I'm a degenerate like that. Hey, Jim, we got an OTR.
I think we had one about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, we absolutely did. So let's get into it. And let's talk about what we've been talking about. So Jim and I have gotten into a conversation and almost turned into an argument over what it's about to. What the biggest choke job in the history of sports is. So we've got some things to choose from. If Edmonton pulls this off, James feels that this is the biggest one. I understand why he feels that way. It is the Stanley Cup Finals. It was 3-0 with a goaltender who was a brick fucking wall. And they have gone on a run like this. I get it. I am of the opinion it is still the 2004 New York Yankees. And no, it's not because I wear the colors of the team across town. It was the greatest closer of all time. The only unanimous Hall of Famer in the history of Cooperstown was on the bump with a 3-0 lead with outs, and his team lost 4 in a row and blew the AL pennant. Now, I get why you say that's not as impactful because it was the pennant, not the World Series. Understood. 100%. We have what the Atlanta Falcons fucking did, giving Brady a ring, up 28-3 and choking on it like that Hawk Tug girl on fucking internet. Have you seen that?
I have not. I've been seeing so much about it. I think I'm going to have to hunker down and watch it after I get off the show tonight.
Yeah, you're going to have to. It's a 10-second interview, and it is what it is. What are some other ones, Jim? And the biggest one in NBA history.
Yeah.
The 73-9 Warriors shitting the bed against the Cleveland Cavaliers in 26. I can't believe that was 8 years ago this past week, man.
See,
8 years ago.
I was thinking
8 years ago today was a parade.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think of the greatest ones in each sport before we actually give counterpoint to which one we think is the biggest one of them all. Football, it's got to be 27-3. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest one of all time because Atlanta had a whole half to stop the bleeding and overtime, and they needed one stop and just couldn't. basketball has got to be the Cavs coming back from 3-1 down in 2016 against that record Warriors team.
Mhm.
A team has only come from 3-0 down to win a series in the Big Four, or at least the Big Three that have best of 7 series, 5 times. Baseball only ever happened in
With the
04
Red Sox.
Yankees Red Sox. It's happened. The other 4 times have been in the NHL. The only other time it happened in the Stanley Cup final, the 1942 Detroit Red Wings came back from 3-0 down against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Here's the key, though. There were only 6 teams in the league back then. You've got 32 now.
And the time before, the first time it ever happened was 3 or 4 years earlier when the Maple Leafs forced a Game 7 after being down 3-0.
And the most recent time it happened was the LA Kings coming back from 3-0 down in the first round against the San Jose Sharks. And the Kings went on to win the Stanley Cup against the Rangers 3 weeks later.
I was going to say that was that year they beat the Rangers, right?
That was the Alec Martinez double overtime goal in Game 6.
That's right. All right, so let's get into it. Let's spend the last 8 minutes of the first hour on this. And let me tell you why I think it is the Yankees. Again, do you know the first person to score a run off Mariano Rivera was in the postseason?
Johnny Damon.
Santos Alomar Jr. Game 4, 1997, ALDS in Cleveland.
Series.
In Cleveland, when he hit the home run to tie that Game 4, and of course the Indians go on to win in 5. You know the next person to score to win a game against Mariano Rivera was Luis Gonzalez. 4 years. 4 years in between blown saves in the postseason. Another 3 years later, he blows his final postseason game. More men have walked on the fucking moon than have scored runs against Mariano Rivera in the postseason. And that is who was on the bump when the Boston Red Sox were down 3-0 a night after getting absolutely embarrassed on their home field by their hated rival, who, by the way, the year before, they went 7 games in the ALCS against and lost on a walk-off home run.
That was Brett Bleepin Boone.
Yeah, Brett fucking Boone, you can say it. And, of course, the guy who threw that pitch, God rest his soul, was Tim Wakefield, who very poetically is the one who started Game 1 of the 2004 World Series against the Cardinals. I get why this would be bigger. I really do, Jim. But when you talk about all-time greats, you talk about not Willie, not Junior, not Seaver, not Ruth, not Williams, not DiMaggio, not Mantle, not any of those guys. There's only been one unanimous Hall of Famer, and it was Mariano Rivera. I mean, when you put up the historic portion of it, I got nothing, man. I got nothing. Now, I will say this. If Edmonton pulls this off, they're going to be on equal footing in my brain, in my mind. It's not going to be a clear cut who's the better one. And 1A to all of them is going to be the Cavs. Just from what Golden State did. Now, give me the other side of the argument.
Damn, that one was a big one.
Yeah.
That one actually rattled the damn window. And I'm about a quarter mile up the road.
Yeah, but those are the good ones.
Yeah. I see your point, but you're wrong. I can understand that a lot of people might say it's Yankees Red Sox, but a lot of those people are saying that because it's Yankees Red Sox.
Fair point.
And there's history there. which is why when somebody says that, I was about ready to call you Stephen A. Martinez.
Oh, shut up.
Edmonton and Florida have no history together like Yankees Red Sox do. For the fact of what we talked about earlier in this segment, 11-4 in the first three, coming around to 18-5 the last three. I understand Mariano Rivera being the unanimous Hall of Famer. However, that argument holds absolutely no water in this conversation, because it would be the equivalent of Edmonton going up 3-0 on Monday night in Sunrise and then pulling Bobrovsky and throwing Patrick Waugh in there for the final 5 minutes to close the game out. You're talking one guy to close out one inning and no more than one inning. What happened the previous 8 innings? It's a total team collapse, and that's why I think if Florida chokes this thing away, considering how great of a record that they had, their run to the finals last year where they should have won a title, they were expected to win the title this year. Everyone expects them to win the title. They were the President's Trophy winners the year before that. I think this would be right up there with UMBC taking down, even missing the consensus player of the year, taking down Virginia in the first round of the NCAA tournament less than 10 years ago. I don't think that one's a bigger upset, because we all know that the greatest upset in the history of sports is Lake Placid in 1980.
Agreed.
There's no arguing that. This is actually where I think that argument is flawed about Mariano Rivera, because, again, it's late game performance, but this is something that Florida could have ended this whole thing. They could have gone out and said, okay, we need to wake our ass up. And what happens? They give up a power play goal within the first 4 minutes of Game 6 in Edmonton, crowds into it. They put Edmonton scores again very early in the second, 2-0. They wave off a goal where they actually said it was offsides when it's obvious that it was not. Shifts the whole momentum. It's, instead of it being 2-1, Edmonton scores very shortly thereafter, and that waved off Florida goal was 11 seconds after Edmonton's second. And then Edmonton scores just a couple of minutes later, and all of a sudden, instead of it being 2-1 early, like not even midway through the second, we're looking at 3-0, and they go on and win that game 5-1. And now Florida, as great as they are, they've got the best goaltender in the playoffs, who's probably going to win a Conn Smythe if they finish this thing out, because none of their other offensive talent has kind of put up any of the numbers that Edmonton has. They've got arguably a top 20 player in Matty Tkachuk. Carter Verhaeghe has come up massive in these playoffs. But you look on the other side now, you got Draisaitl, who's won a Hart Trophy. You've got McDavid, who's already, if he wins this thing on Monday, Connor McDavid will be 28 years old. He hasn't hit 500 goals for his career yet. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
This is where I think the Edmonton win, because again, Detroit did it to Toronto 70 years ago, but again, 6 teams in the league, wood sticks, no curve, stand-up goaltenders, barely wearing face coverings back then, completely different game, faster, more physical, and the Red Sox had it in them to be able to pull that off. Everyone left Edmonton dead and buried after getting shut out in Game 1.
I will say this. I think it's because the two sports are so different that you and I can have this conversation and neither one of us be wrong. You're talking about, and again, more weight because it is the Stanley Cup Finals. 100%. Where your analogy about bringing in Patrick Waugh is wrong is very simple. You're not going to get. Well, no, it's actually kind of right. You're bringing them in to make sure you keep that door shut with a one, and if it'd be a 1-goal lead, basically. I might be turning the table on this. I might be thinking that you could be correct with this. That's if Monday night goes the way that honestly I think it's going to go. I think Edmonton's going to win Game 7 and complete the greatest comeback in NHL history, just from the dominance that they were being basically shoved down their throat. So yeah, you know what, Jim? I hate saying I'm wrong, but you're kind of pulling me over to the other side. Stop, would you? Fuck.
Let's throw this out there. If he puts up, if this is maybe like, let's say Florida goes out and takes care of business at home, although the last time we had Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, it did not go very well for the home team.
No.
But could we actually see something if we got like maybe a 3-1 game and he has a goal? Does Connor McDavid steal the Conn Smythe Trophy in a losing effort?
If they lose in overtime and it's high scoring and Bobrovsky gives up a bunch of goals, yes, he can. I think he can. I am not 100% sure if the NHL would do that. Has there been a Conn Smythe winner on a losing team before?
I've just pulled it up. Roger Crozier in 1966 with Detroit. Glenn Hall won the Conn Smythe for my Blues in 68, despite the fact that they got swept in the finals. Reggie Leach with the Flyers in 76. Ron Hextall in 87. And the most recent one, here's a name that you're going to remember. Jean-Sebastien Giguère with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks in 2003 after they lost in Game 7 against the Devils.
I thought Marty won the Conn Smythe that year. Wow, JSG won it.
Brodeur shut out
to overtime
in 3 of the 4 New Jersey victories, but Giguère was on a whole other level. He stopped 63 of 64 in Game 1.
That's right. They had 64 shots on goal in Game 1. That's right. And Marty's defense played really good.
Anaheim does not get out of the first round if it's not for Giguère.
No, you're absolutely right. Now that I remember that, you're right. So what do you say we continue this conversation next Saturday after this series is over? And unless we have something else catastrophic happen, we lead with the Stanley Cup Finals again on Saturday.
So who do we actually have to put on to watch? Like, protect this person. We don't actually want to do another memoriam.
There's too big of a list.
Yeah.
Real quick, 2 things I saw. Charlie Condon from the University of Georgia won the Golden Spikes.
Potential as of right now, overall pick in a couple of weeks.
Yep, and as of right now, it is 7-2 Texas A&M.
I get the College World Series. Yep,
I got the College World Series on right now. And by the way, real quick before we go to halftime, I just want to throw this out there. Did you see what Brianna Stewart did today?
Did you see what Cameron Young did today?
I did not, but did you see what Brianna Stewart did?
I just saw a historic first half, 33, 7, and 6 overall, but she
I think all 6 blocks were in the first half.
Yeah, Ionescu 24, Kayla Thornton had 20.
And congratulations, Paul Goldschmidt, on his 350th home run.
Congratulations, Goldie. Cam Young shot 59 today.
I saw that.
The lowest score on the PGA Tour in 4 years.
That's crazy. I remember when David Duval did it years ago. So what do you
Eagles on par fours, holing out with a wedge from 142, and drove the 280-yard 15th hole within 4 feet.
That's insanity.
That's nuts. And yet we were going to actually talk golf in last week's blast when Molinari hit an ace on the 9th to qualify for the weekend at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that in the blast too. The blast is going to be big tonight, ladies and gentlemen, so bear with us. So what do you say we get to halftime and take a minute, recharge? You need more water, apparently.
It's kind of cooled off. I got my
jersey.
little air conditioner here, and I got a fan down here. Thank God we're getting rain after midnight.
Yeah, and I'm ditching the jersey because it's starting to be annoying. But we will see you guys in 8 minutes.
Not a moment too soon because the loud ones are going off.
Well, you enjoy the finale. We'll come back when that's over.
We'll see you guys in a few.
See you in a few. And we're back. You're muted again. You should write
It's the other, you know?
You should write a sticky note or something. Hey,
It might not be the worst thing in the world at this point.
Nice. I had some more of those chips in the break. They're really good.
Yeah, I think I'm going to run out and maybe do a quick Sheets run after tonight.
See, how do you do something that's so based in Pittsburgh? Or are they Philly?
Because it's not Wawa or Buc-ee's.
Wawa's almost done here. Literally 3 minutes from the house.
No, I don't want to order from Sheets right now.
DoorDash from Sheets, I dare you.
Altoona, Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's like going to Giant Eagle.
Harris Teeter's part of Kroger.
Yeah, but they're open 24/7, and the prepared food ain't bad at all.
Dude, the coffee from Sheets is so good.
Although there's part of me that actually wish, hey, if I actually catch a second wind or something with all the damn water I'm drinking, I'll drive 35 minutes to the closest Tim Hortons tonight.
Well, we came down here actually to Steph's cousin's wedding in 2016. And on the way home, I talked them into let me drive a little bit because that was, whatever. But we stopped just outside of Gettysburg at Sheets. And I was like, all right, get me coffee. We're finishing this now. My house in New York was 4 hours from Gettysburg.
Speaking of flying, and we talked about it off air on Tuesday, but when I went out on Monday, the person I was with knew about the Savannah airport and just how nice and quaint it is. I like that airport.
I do too, but I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to ask if she knew about the other one.
No, they're probably what I think they might even be in the air now, for all I know.
Yeah, you were saying that the trip was over
this like just after midnight or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry that my mind went there first. I do apologize. That was wrong. Lord, I apologize.
Being with the pygmies down in it.
And save the starving pygmies in New Guinea. Amen. So what's in the blast that unfortunately last week got cut off?
Not much, really, because some of it's not time sensitive anymore. Well, some of it was time sensitive, but we don't have much, as you can see.
This motherfucker.
It's definitely stuff that we can spend a little bit of time on.
Okay, so let's start with Sunshine because this pissed me off. And here's why it pissed me off. What the fuck has he done? Nothing.
He's got him, to 3 playoffs in 4 years?
No, 1 playoff. He's 20-30. He's not even 4 years in yet. This is year 4.
Yeah, they lost. You're right. They missed out this year on a tiebreaker.
The Urban year was a lost year, and 2 years ago, they won a playoff game.
And nearly
beat Kansas City
that year.
Yeah. So here's my problem.
Did you see the new Bram video where he talks about the Chiefs' troubles?
Yeah.
What was the one that I sent you?
We paid them to do that.
What was the one that I sent you?
Hold on. Messenger, right?
Backup quarterbacks.
Yes, the Mac Jones one was hilarious.
The Mac up.
But here's something, and Craig Carton, who's on WFAN in New York, who I can't fucking stand. I hate him. I think he's a piece of garbage. He did time for a ticket scalping scheme, and yet WFAN brought him back with open arms, kind of like the Mets with all the coke Daryl and Doc did. Anyway, he in his first 3 seasons has the same completion percentage, touchdown interception ratio, QBR, yards per game, and record as Danny fucking Dimes.
But the difference is he's actually gotten some success out of them where Jones had.
Danny Dimes he's won as many playoff games as Danny Dimes has. This shit right here is why it may be one of the most important positions on the field, but it is the most overblown position in all of sports.
Did you actually see that there's that the owners are starting to talk about putting a salary cap on quarterback salaries because they're the highest paid on the team, about capping it at a certain point? I like that idea.
I blame Jimmy Haslam.
And it would take in signing bonus, deferred monies, and everything. It would cap that.
I blame that fucking redneck in Berea.
So you think about it. They said he's the one that kind of gets the ball rolling. Lamar gets his deal. Josh gets his deal. Did Burrow get his deal yet? Okay, so he got his deal.
Joe Shiesty was the highest paid quarterback for about 2 months.
Wilson got his deal, and then he got broken off when they realized he's not what he was.
No, they realized that when the Legion of Boom fell apart and they didn't have a running game, that he wasn't exactly who they ever thought he was going to be.
Lawrence is a franchise guy. I can see
he is not.
At least where he's at.
All right, so
you draft a guy number 1 overall, and he's actually semi-productive. You're going to back up the Brinks truck for him. And let's also be honest, with all their other ventures, Shad and Tony Khan have no problem backing that truck up.
So then why isn't Baker a Cleveland Brown?
Because they saw the shinier new toy who surprisingly enough became available by the team who was currently employing him. And look at how that's turned out, to where he may get broken off if he does, with still 2 years left on that deal if he doesn't ball out this year.
Here is why Trevor Lawrence was just paid that kind of money. It's threefold. 1, the Cons have that kind of money. They do. Cool. You spend your money how you want. 2, they needed a face to get that new fucking stadium down in Jacksonville. And 3, nope, only 2. Only 2. Because he's shit.
But they have a face who is under contract to the Cons. It's John Moxley, Kenny Omega.
MJF is not getting that fucking stadium built. MJF might get him an arena, but he's not getting a stadium built. I mean, honestly, Jim, and this is my problem with this, okay? You see these guys making this money, and they haven't fucking done anything. They haven't. Even Billy didn't do shit before the Browns paid him that money. He did nothing.
Did Brock Purdy get a deal?
He hasn't yet. But Brock Purdy also knows that he can't be fucking stupid, get all his money, and keep a team that's going to go to a Super Bowl around him. These teams these GMs and these owners, I swear to Christ, they must have all inherited their fucking money because they're all fucking stupid. We know Haslam's a country bumpkin bastard who don't know shit. We know that the Cons have somewhat business sense, but you're paying this guy so much money, you can't build a roster. It's a 53-man game. You need guys to contribute 1 through 53, and none of these stupid sons of bitches even fucking remember that. You know what they think?
To the aspect that Kirk Cousins at 35 years old, got a 4-year deal with over 100 of that guaranteed, and could be riding pine by the end of the year.
Did you see they got their hit? They got fined $250,000 and they lost draft picks. Now they didn't lose the first. They didn't lose a first round pick like I thought they were going to. Which is why when we talked about it, I thought the Michael Penix drafting was great. But think about where these teams have fallen apart. You get these guys who aren't Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning or to some extent Tom Brady, and you pay them all this fucking money, and you can't build a fucking roster around it.
Well, let me pose the question to you here on this. Who's going to be the next one to get the massive deal?
CJ Stroud.
And who's going to be the one who's backed it up? Of all of these guys so far, that who's going to be the one that backs the contract up?
CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud will be the one to back it up, and he will be the one to get the contract. Think about it this way. He won a division title as a rookie. Granted, in a not very good division. And what did they do? They went out and made the team fucking better. And Stroud, for all that he is, as good as he is, and as good as I knew he was going to be, he is the type of player who will say, we want to win a title. I cannot break the bank. I've got to get Will Anderson's got to eat. Tank Dell's got to eat. This one's got to eat. That one's got to eat. I'm going to get my money. I want to win titles.
I'm going to throw a different name out there, and it's not out of spite for the fact that Stroud went to Ohio State and also knocked the Browns out of the playoffs. But I think the next one that you're going to see, Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is going to be the next great quarterback in this league. I think he's already there.
Jim, I will say this. Let's do this. Stroud is the one in the AFC, and Jordan Love is definitely the one in the NFC. But herein lies the problem with this. The Browns are playoff contenders because Andrew Berry is has such a great eye for talent. Not only on the field, but on the sideline. Having said that, the GM, Gunther, whatever the fuck his name is in Green Bay, has to build a team around him. Because for as good as Jordan Love is, he's not Aaron in his prime. Aaron in his prime may have been the best thrower of the football in the history of the game. Whoever the GM, and I can't remember the guy's name in Houston, he's got to remember, CJ is a great quarterback. CJ has had very talented, skilled players around him.
Nick Caserio in Houston.
Okay, so Nick Caserio's got to realize every place CJ has gone, be it Ohio State, with the best wide receiver room in the country, and now with the complement, and he doesn't have a top tier wide, and I use quotation fingers, he doesn't have a top tier wide receiver room there. What he has is guys who are perfect for the offensive system. They've got to keep these teams intact. The team that will end up being the next dynasty, like the Kansas City Chiefs, will be the one that figures that the fuck out. Because Andy Reid figured it out.
By the way, Nick Caserio from Lyndhurst, Ohio.
I thought that name sounded familiar.
Went to university and John Carroll.
John Carroll's okay. University, not so much.
Yeah.
But no, and Sunshine, look, Sunshine showed his true colors in that national championship game against LSU, and then the ass beating he took in that Sugar Bowl from Ohio State the following year.
But he's got a national title.
He's got a national title against an Alabama team that had no business being even in the fucking tournament.
Yeah, but he hooked up with Hunter Renfrow when they got with a perfect time.
That was Deshaun.
You're right.
No, Trevor was the one that he was the freshman that started the year 2 years after Deshaun, and went in there and just beat the shit out of that Alabama. That was the Tua team that got the fuck beat out of him. Speaking of, if he gets this kind of deal, they ought to be shot. They signed his brother.
I saw that.
Garbage. Absolute garbage. So what's going on with Bernie Kosar?
Bernie Kosar has filed a lawsuit. I'm going to have to look up the name of the organization, but prior to last season, Bernie was fired from the Browns radio pregame show because he put a $19,000 bet down with the Browns Steelers, which actually would have gone to charity, but Browns radio does not allow you to place bets if you're on the game day audio. So he is citing breach of contract, saying that he was fired, although he was told to place this bet for a promotional purpose.
I just pulled it up on New York Times. Big play.
Yeah.
Basically, he's saying that the company breached his contract with him, and the guy who owns the thing, Kendall Miles, verbally assaulted him and attempted to threaten him to get Kosar to agree to change the terms of his deal with Big Play. Cuyahoga County Court. Oh, wow. The suit also said Kosar's contract guaranteed that Mr. Kosar would not be liable nor responsible for the amount of the wager, nor will be entitled to any winnings that may occur as a result of the wager. So basically, they wanted him to do it as a prop. The NFL and the Browns canned him, and now he wants his money. They ought to pay Burn. Pay Burn. Pay him. You fucked up. Pay him.
Exactly. And I don't remember if it was 19,000 or 1,900, but it was certainly 19 something because that was Bernie's jersey.
His number. Yeah. Speaking of Bernie, can I just tell you, I had the weirdest dream the other night. Do you remember when all the stuff about Baker came out that they needed an adult in the room? Here's why I say this.
Was Bernie running after you and he was catching you, considering how slow he used to run anyway?
Oh, Bernie could catch me on his worst day now. No, I had a dream that Tony Grossi got fired from ESPN because he was the one who said the Browns needed an adult in the room about Baker and gave the thing to Mortensen and said it was an inside thing, and because DePodesta quit and he did a tell-all about how they fucked him. I don't even know why I had that dream.
Better dream would have been that Bernie came to you in a vision and told the coquinist story.
Better dream would be Bernie coming to me in a vision and telling me about his days at the U.
I don't think there's too many secrets left during that time period.
No. But what? So what the fuck is Les Miles bitching about?
Les Miles is suing LSU because LSU, when they had their violations and forfeited some wins, it officially now puts Les Miles short of qualifying for the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame.
But it was on his watch. What is he bitching about?
That it was actually, Les Miles is actually saying the voidance of wins was done without consulting him. That he was not part of the conversation with the university.
Let me get this straight. Let's see if I'm following here. A guy who no longer works for them, who was in charge when violations were committed, is bitching that they took something away from him.
Trying to pull up these specifics. He is suing the university over 37 vacated wins during his tenure from 2012 to 2015. The wins became significant as without them, Miles is just shy of the 60% winning percentage threshold to make the College Football Hall of Fame. Trying to get the little bit more specifics here.
Paging Jim Tressel.
In 2023, LSU vacated 37 wins, and I'm quoting ESPN here, because of recruiting violations stemming from impermissible benefits paid to the father of a former player by a former booster. The wins coincided with the player's playing career from 2012 to 2015 under Miles, who went 37-14 during the stretch. The vacated wins were announced alongside penalties for LSU's football and men's basketball programs by the NCAA's the IARR, Independent Accountability Resolution Process. The 37 vacated wins dropped his overall winning percentage from 665 to 597. Coaches must have a career percentage of 600 in at least 100 games to qualify for selection to the College Football Hall of Fame. So
didn't he coach like shit at Kansas too?
Yeah, he also had tenure at Kansas and Oklahoma State. And he's 70 years old, so I highly doubt he's going to come back for like 1 year to be able to push that up 0.03 of a point. 0.003 of a point, I'm sorry. He could apply for special exemption or but for the work that he did and the fact that he's got a national championship under his belt, I think he actually would be deserving of a Hall of Fame nod. I mean, they were Alabama before Alabama got where they are.
He should have 2 titles because of the BCS was shit. He should have a second title. And that's the year Bama played them the second time after losing to them.
In the SEC title game, yeah.
Wasn't the SEC title game. It was early, it was a regular season game. That was the year that gave us the playoff because Bama lost to LSU.
Right.
Bama lost to LSU, and because of the computers, Ohio State who won the Big Ten, West Virginia who won the Big East, Oklahoma, I believe, won the Big 12. One of the California schools, either Stanford or I think it was Stanford because Andrew Luck was the quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. Stanford, I believe, won the Pac-12. None of them got a shot. And Florida State or Clemson won the ACC. It was Clemson because that was the year Ohio State played Clemson in. No, it wasn't. No, that was Oregon won the Pac-12. Ohio State won the Big Ten. That was that Rose Bowl with Terrell Pryor. But because of the computers, Bama got a second shot at LSU in the national championship, in the BCS championship game, and steamrolled them, but shouldn't have been in the game. Bama played one game inside the top 10 all year and lost. Sounds like a Nick Saban thing, doesn't it? Play one game inside the top 10, lose, and still somehow get a chance to play for a national championship. That's a Bama special.
Which now could be an Ohio State special, who actually took a Division I opponent off their schedule and replaced him with a Division II.
Who'd they take off their schedule? And before you bust my ass, you know I don't like when they play cupcakes. You know I don't like that.
It was going from one cupcake to an even bigger cupcake.
Who was
it? It just came out this week. They yanked UConn off their schedule for Grambling for 2025. Now, granted, UConn's not very good to begin with, and Grambling can probably beat UConn, but it's still the fact that you pulled off a Division I school for a 1AA.
You know why they did that, right? 25 starts a home and home that everybody wants to see. I think it's 25 that starts either Texas or Alabama as a home and home.
I think it's the Texas series.
Yeah, so that's right, because 25 and 26 is Texas, 27 and 28 is Alabama. Yeah, you can bitch all you want. They're going to go to Tuscaloosa, and they're going to go to college to Austin. I don't give a fuck who they play outside of that. And I think it's in 25. Not only do they go to Texas, they go to California, and they play in the Coliseum against USC.
Yeah, but they've done that before.
Not in the Big Ten.
No, I mean certainly not in conference play, but they've gone out to Eugene, they've gone to Pullman, they've gone to Los Angeles,
and they've gone to Texas. They played Vince Young in Texas.
Yeah,
and
they've been to Austin. They've been to Dallas. They don't go south. They've been to Norman.
They have been. That was a great game, dude. And then the next year, Baker plants the flag. If you think about it, the Blue Bloods, they've played them all in the non-conference. They have. And obviously the Penn States, the Michigans, those guys, they played in conference. So, yeah, playing Grambling, dude, can you imagine the halftime with the fucking bands? Holy shit.
I was behind a guy the other day who had Ohio State band alumni on his license plate cover, and sure enough, what was on the bottom?
Script Ohio.
TBDIT.
The best damn band in the land.
Yep, and it was the acronym for it.
Nice. But seriously, as a band enthusiast, because when I went to see Haskins, that was alumni band weekend.
Because this one time at band camp,
dude. Do you know what her next line is? Not about the flute. Do you know what she says to him?
Don't say it.
Do you know, not the flute, the other thing, you know what she says to him? Are we gonna? Because I'm getting kind of antsy.
Although my favorite part of that is I just shoved a trumpet in your ass. Aren't instruments fun?
That was the second one.
Yeah.
Mom, shit brick. Okay, we've had American Pie lines. By the way, speaking of our movie love on this show, with Mel Brooks' blessing, Josh Gad has the green light to develop Spaceballs 2. With a good chunk of the original cast returning.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
It's going to ruin it.
Yeah, well, History of the World Part 2 was apparently shitty too. Anyways, and Trevor Bauer is the one I brought to your attention before we went on the air.
Yeah, what's going on with Captain Doors?
Did you see what he did last night? He set the Mexican record for strikeouts in a single game. He struck out 19 last night.
That's impressive.
And I find it hilarious that PitchCom speaks Spanish on one end and English on the other. Love it.
Yeah, but it's like when you go to when you watch NATO meetings where, Biden or Putin or something, they'll actually be able to talk in one language and then everyone else hears something else at the exact same moment.
Agreed. I think it's great. But yeah, he struck out 19. There is such a bereft of pitching in the major leagues right now. I want the Mets to sign him. I do. I want the Mets to sign him. Fuck the circus. With what they've done since Grimace throughout the first pitch, and I know it's a joke, but since May 30th, they are the hottest team in baseball. This is what I've been waiting for. They need pitching. Tyler McGill got absolutely shredded today. Do you see what they did to Imanaga yesterday?
Yeah, I saw something with the score.
Imanaga had a 1.89 ERA going into the game against the Mets yesterday. He walked out with a 2.96. They put up a 10 spot on Imanaga yesterday. He should have been out there for the whole thing. But the bottom line is this. The guy can still do it. He has been cleared of any wrongdoing and should have never been kicked off the Dodgers. How nasty would the fucking Dodgers be with him right now?
They could honestly use him right now. It's and I say that because looking at the overall standings, because outside of 2 games going on right now, the Dodgers are in the third with the Angels, and then the Rockies and the Nats are in the 6th. Those are the only games we have left. But then again, we also have to remember it's 10:45 Eastern time. Michael, without looking, can you name who has the largest division lead in baseball right now?
It's either the Gardos or the Phillies.
You're halfway there. The Guardians and the Dodgers, as it stands right now, are both 7.5 up in their division. The Phillies are 7 up.
Or 7, okay. Because the Braves lost tonight. Aaron Judge has 28 bombs.
And the Dodgers are up 3-0 right now, so they could push to 4. They could push to an 8-game lead over the Padres, who have won 4 in a row themselves. But the Guardians, after losing 3 in a row when Jose Ramirez takes maternity leave for the birth of his 3rd child,
congratulations.
All they did was come back and take 2 out of 3 from Seattle, and have already taken the first 2 against Toronto.
Can I just say this? I love the City Connect jersey.
Can I actually say this? There's a possibility by the time we come back from our summer hiatus, I could have one.
Yeah, mine are too expensive.
DH Gate is a wonderful thing.
I want the hat. I want the Mets hat. I will eventually get the Mets hat.
Yeah, I don't think the hat. I think you could still get the hats off of like Fanatics or something. You can't get the jerseys unless they're personalized. I think I actually found like one of the drop ship ones. It would be here in 3 weeks, and it's like $35 if I did not get it customized, which I don't think I will. And there's a part of me that may want them to keep that jersey for next year as an alternate. Even if you put the script Cleveland on it and get rid of the CLE.
How god-awful is that?
What is that, the All-Star hat?
Yeah.
Go back to how it used to be and have them all wear their own uniforms.
I agree, but this is the workout hat. This I like.
It's not bad.
No. But yeah, the All-Star stuff is coming out. I really do want one of the low profile, the flex hat that they do for that. I would enjoy that. So speaking of Bauer, basically somebody said in an interview or in a media session that they had said, were you considering litigation against Major League Baseball? He goes, I don't want it to get to that point, but I'm probably going to have to. Because it came out. Everything that he was alleged to have done was false. He didn't do anything other than be stupid. And last time I checked, stupidity isn't a crime that should get you suspended from your work. Unless you commit a crime being stupid, and he didn't. So, yeah, if he's got a sue to be able to play, somebody said, listen, Jim, would you take him in Cleveland?
I absolutely would, and as much as it kind of pains us to say it, Carlos Carrasco can catch the next bus out of town right now.
As long as it's not the midnight train at Georgia. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little sad for Cookie because I happen to like Cookie. But yeah, he's got to go. Bauer would be lights out there. Why not? But yeah, everybody and their mother's suing people. And then, did you see the NFL one? Did you watch the McAfee thing I sent you?
No, because I don't at this particular point, I think I might be completely done with him for good, regardless of what it is.
No, this is a good one. So Mike Florio was on there the other day, and apparently,
and Mike Florio's a clown.
Not saying he's not, but he's the only one talking about this. The NFL is being sued over the pricing structure of the Sunday ticket.
I did see that, but I mean, unless I want to watch Bills games, I could care less. There's also international, like you get a VPN and you can work around it.
But that's just it. What the suit alleges is that they are doing this to steer all the business to Fox and CBS, as opposed to letting guys watch. They're pricing, getting the package out of normal people's price range. Apparently, they have in Discovery the emails and proposal from ESPN for direct ticket to be $70 a month. Or I'm sorry, $70 for the package.
For the season?
For the season, where you can pick and choose. Not where you have to buy, like you can buy a package based on the Bills. I could buy one based on the Browns or the Jets.
Yeah, the NHL does that type of tier system, is that I could pay, I want to say it's well, it used to be before they moved to ESPN Plus, that I could actually pay like $69 for the entire season if I just wanted out of market Blues games, or I could pay $129 for the entire league minus local blackouts.
Yeah, but you're talking the the Sunday ticket's like $300.
Yeah.
And now it's only on YouTube. So you have to have YouTube TV in order to get it. So you got to pay for YouTube TV every month, and then you got to pay for the fucking package.
Right, and YouTube TV is $82 a month.
I want to say the one Nick has is $65.
He might have been grandfathered in, because if I were to sign up with it now, if I were to dump Spectrum and go with my cable bill's going up $15-20 a month.
Gotcha. I'm lucky he signed it on my TV, so I'm able to watch. That's what I had. I was watching Tennessee and Texas A&M on. But that's interesting.
So very quickly, before we go into band practice, we were going to touch on a little bit of a thread count last week. We're going to cut a lot of it short, but we do have actually some news that's come out in the last few days. And we now have official new looks for the Anaheim Ducks, the Los Angeles Kings, and the Washington Wizards just dropped a new statement edition jersey within the last 2 days as well.
Ooh, do we have pictures?
We do.
Yay.
First, let me actually throw up the Kings are trying to take what's old and make it new again. And
thank fuck.
Why?
Why not?
Gretzky's not there. I understand that this is their most popular look, and if you look at it, they've got the home plate outline, from the current one, which actually evolved out of the original. That font for Los Angeles is a joke. The updated crown is a joke.
That crown looks like something on one of my relatives' dashboards.
I think that this is trying to take anything old and make it new again, especially when you've gone so forward with the Kings designs as they've been the last 10 years. I think turning it around and going backwards like this, it's going to work out one of two ways. You could either end up doing it could actually work. Let's see what the jerseys look like when they're debuted at the draft next week. Or you could actually end up hitting a home run like when the Sabres went back to their older design, kind of making a couple of little tweaks on it, because this was not the original design from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s before they went black and red. Or you could basically throw a newer type crest on an older style jersey, and it's going to flame out horrifically.
Well, I mean, listen, anything's better than the chrome crap they were doing last season. But by the way, just so you know, Luke Robitaille's not there anymore either, and this is still an upgrade in my opinion. Yes, I threw out Luke Robitaille.
I mean, Jonathan Quick's not there. Dustin Brown's not there. Anze Kopitar's only got a couple more years left in his tank.
I thought you'd be impressed that I threw out Robitaille, who was there with Gretzky.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
We move from the LA Kings. I'm not sure how authentic this is, and it's not the greatest picture. The Ducks are back.
Quack, 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 quack. Sorry.
So the biggest change that you can see is that now orange is the primary. So the eggplant and teal is gone, and they've taken the old look and they put the new color scheme with it.
Yo, that duck looks fucking angry.
With the orange and the gold.
That duck looks fucking angry.
That's the one. That's the big difference with this one. Is the old one, there was no colorization to the eye and the mask.
That's pretty cool. Jim.
And kind of the other little tweak that I like to that is the old gold, like the penguin style gold in the curved triangle around on the crest.
Yeah,
and it's a little. No,
I like that too.
It's a little bit of a darker orange, almost like a Flyers orange.
Yeah, it's definitely not a Mets orange, which is the orange I'm used to.
Yeah, it's like a burnt.
Yeah, it's definitely a burnt. Do you remember the first time we saw the old Mighty Ducks jerseys?
Cake Eater.
The second one.
Yes.
By the way, I would love for them to do a throwback night and do the original Ducks jerseys from the first one.
I think they did those last year for the 30th anniversary.
The Charlie Conway one. I want that jersey, by the way.
Yeah, those I want to say that they may not be able to, because I want to say that that's a Disney thing.
Didn't Disney own them?
For a while, and then they sold them off.
I would still, for nostalgia purposes, let them do it. Yeah, there. You know how you got the Shane Falco and the Al Bundy jerseys?
Yep.
There are a couple. I want a Charlie Conway, and I want a Kelly Lee Chico's Bail Bonds Bears jersey.
Trying to think if there's any other novelty. Maybe a Doug Blatt jersey from Goon.
69.
It's hilarious.
Is that number available?
So we've got two more quick ones, because I just actually thought of one. But this is the new, even though it's folded a little bit, this is the new Washington District jersey.
I like that.
I do too. And yet, with all the different uniform and alternate combinations in the NBA, 95% of them are straight trash. I like this.
I do too. I like this one almost as much as I like the Charlotte jerseys.
Yeah, but you like that one for a whole other reason.
Didn't say I didn't like it. I just said it, I like it for a reason. We're still getting legs on that joke. I mean, it's
2 years old and we're still getting legs.
It's almost 3.
And lastly, I think the biggest one.
Very nice.
So the logo and the team name is not official, but the colors are. So they will be going with sky blue, black, and white. There were a lot of people that thought that they were going to actually model themselves after the new Utah Jazz jersey, where the Jazz went.
That would have been
blue,
sick.
Purple, and then black. So now they brought black back into the equation. And we were going to bring it up last week, but those new Jazz jerseys are sweet.
They are. They really are. I like those. I don't like many jerseys of not my team, but there are a few. The Jazz ones are one of them. Now, and again, I'm a fan of the City Connects that they've done for the Cavs over the last few years.
And those are the official word marks for the first year in Salt Lake City. I got to say, that tertiary logo in the center on the bottom, that's going to be the shoulder patch. I like that. I'd like that.
I do too.
Around when they actually have the new identity.
I do too. Remind me to tell you something when we're done. I won't say it on the air. It's kind of like the typed in joke where you yelled my wife's name. I won't say it on the air.
There have been multiple ones of that.
Yes, there have been. Oh, hey, well, I'm thinking about it. So Willie was the only person we invited on tonight for 75. Alex was also invited on, but it is his wife's birthday. So happy birthday to Mrs. Ruiz. I don't know how old she is. I don't even pretend to guess. But happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mr. Ruiz.
If you watch this or listen, happy birthday to your wife, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Hopefully.
We will.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. So, James.
Is it more than a feeling?
Wait a minute. Blue Swede or BJ Thomas? Which one? Well, that's hooked on a feeling. Never mind. And Marianne can go scratch. How about that? But I am also hooked on a feeling, James, and that feeling is it's time for band practice.
Would you shut up and just push the button already? No, God! No, God, please, no!
It's the YC translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the YZ Translator, the final segment of the night and the best segment of the night. As always, James and I will give each other names and or things in or out of the sports world, and we will throw the first thing that comes to the top of our minds out at you guys, and there have been some epic ones. The douche canoe is still my favorite. I mean, it just is. Patrick had maybe the funniest one that turned into a foot-long joke. We had, what are some of the other ones? I mean, the Boss Hog one. I'm sorry. I was in tears when I said that. So would you?
I think the only other time I've seen you in tears is when I blew Victor Wembanyama over in a wind tunnel. Because also I was blowing your eardrums out at the same time.
Yes, or when Alex called Dwayne Johnson a shitty actor. That was pretty good too. So, as is always, it is my job to give the first of the night. Oh, by the way, another great one is when I gave you the former president, and you were so fucking excited.
That's the last time we actually did a translator, I think. Because
that's right, because we didn't do one last week. So I apologize for screwing that up. You're an asshole.
I was watching Rodney Carrington yesterday, so sue me.
Live at the Majestic is one of my favorites.
That's what I was watching. And probably if you remember it well enough, what that's pulled from because you don't try it.
I do. Hold on. That man is a deacon at his church.
It was earlier.
I know.
Because
that
I was talking about all the ice cream I crushed. And that's one thing you do try. And if you don't like it, you move on. If you watch this segment, I'm pretty sure you'll be in therapy for the rest of your life.
You can't just try that.
I'd never be able to have fun again.
Or what was it? Was it he went home with the nurse who gave him the penicillin shot before?
Because I have most of that memory. Come on, happy, sad, happy. No, sad, bitchy shit.
Horny. So we've both obviously seen this. Dude, have you watched Razzle Dazzle yet? Speaking of,
not yet.
It's Kreischer. Just that one scene. I play it over and over again because when I ever need a laugh. He buys 660 of the 700 raffle tickets. And he wins all the prizes, and he's going up to get one, and they're at a wine tasting for the school, a fundraiser, and a parent says a little too loud, "Who the fuck does this guy think he is?" And the bartender yells, "He's the fucking machine."
I'll actually, if I ever want to laugh, I'll go back and watch the original Machine.
Oh, and then watch the McAfee clip too, when he talks about when he went to the strip club.
That one's legendary.
Oh, God, yes.
Because he's told that story so many different times on so many different shows.
And the funny thing is that when he first told it and posted it, there were people from his class who were like, yep, this actually happened.
Yep. Every time like somebody re-uploads like one of his stories or something, there's always somebody chiming in who actually says, yeah, I was there. This is legit.
Oh, my God, yes. So speaking of being there and being legit, James, your first name in tonight's Wisey Translator can go one of two ways. Matty Tkachuk.
He's either going to end up stepping out of Big Walt's shadow, or he's going to end up staying way behind it, and Brady could even be behind his brother.
Ooh. Brady's younger, right? Oh, that'd fuck him up. Speaking of being in therapy.
Because Big Walt never won a cup. And that's his old man, Keith. He actually went by his nickname was Big Walt for a lot of years.
His old man didn't win a cup?
I don't think his old man ever got the chance to play for a cup. I'm trying to remember. He started with Winnipeg. They never made a final. The old Jets or the new Jets never made a final. Then he actually spent a lot of years with the Coyotes, and they've never been to a final. Then he spent a lot of years with the Blues, and they only went to one conference final, and that was Ray Bork's championship year. So I don't remember the chance of Big Walt ever actually being in a final.
That'd be rough.
And yet Tkachuk's going to have back-to-back years where he was hurt. He played one game. He played game one last year and didn't play the rest. And he was there for the whole thing. And he was one of the huge factors in the first three games, and has basically been a mannequin to model a jersey after on the ice the last three.
Utah can use his help. Who you got for me, boss?
Mike, your first name in the YZ translator, we brought up he's on the move, and he's headed to a place for somebody who you just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Now on the move, Mr. Alex Caruso.
Why in a Memphis jersey does he look like Elmer Fudd from the first fucking Space Jam movie?
And the fact that they bring Josh Giddey back, I mean, it's pretty rare that you get a 1-to-1 with this level of star power that both teams could benefit from.
Absolutely. Alex Caruso is a great player. He is, in my opinion, somebody that our Cavs could use. He's gritty. He's tough. I mean, he still has my personal favorite reaction of anybody when he skied in over somebody and that entire bench lost its shit. But he plays both ends of the floor well. Unfortunately, in that he does look like Elmer fucking Fudd with the thing on. I mean, I can't talk, but still.
But I'll tell you this much, for Josh Giddey coming back to a Bulls team that's rebuilding, and Alex Caruso now with an all-star under his resume going to the
with SGA
going to the team that took the top record in the Western Conference this past season.
Very few trades in any sport are ever beneficial for both teams. This is one of them. We've talked ad nauseum above the Lindor for the Lindor trade with the Mets and the Guardians, how that has really worked out for both teams. The ancillary pieces went away, and the two guys who stayed are now cornerstones. Has there really been one in football?
Didn't Andre Johnson go 1-1 for somebody?
Yeah, but he was late in his career for that. I mean, that wasn't. He went to Arizona. Why do I think Buffalo has one like that?
You might be right, although it might be crazy.
But it just may be a lunatic you're looking for.
Hence the caption. And to keep the joke going, turn out the lights.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't think of too many in the NFL.
In baseball, we've seen them where they've been mutually beneficial. But anyways.
Hockey, you get it a little bit more, but you never get one of although there were a couple of big, I think there was a pretty big trade earlier this week that the Kings sent Pierre-Luc Dubois to Calgary for Jacob Markstrom, the goaltender.
That'll end up paying dividends for both teams.
Or was Dubois? Dubois was shipped. I can't remember if he went for Jacob Markstrom. There's part of me that wants to say he might have gone to Washington for Darcy Kemper. Either way, it gets a solid netminder for the Kings, and somebody definitely benefits of a guy who's kind of tried to resurrect his career in recent years after the Columbus thing, flamed out for him.
Yeah, no, it's. I think you'll see it more in the NHL and the NBA, where in years to come that you're going to get these 1-for-1s that'll work. Baseball's been doing it forever. So, James, your second name in this evening's Wisey Translator. Yeah, I'm going to go here. Max Scherzer.
About time he got up off his ass and stopped drinking after celebrating a World Series title tomorrow.
Thank you. Actually, I got to give him credit. He did something pretty funny last week when the Mets were in Texas. Alonso walked and didn't realize what the count was, and Scherzer's in in the top step of the dugout screaming, swing the fucking bat, swing the fucking bat. And Alonso looks over, didn't know who it was, sees it's Max, just put his head down, starts shaking his head. He's a good dude. He just needs to throw.
I actually, with the College World Series, because my Gators got to the Final Four, and also my Lady Gators got to the Final Four in the Women's College World Series as well. I didn't actually, I saw a video on the College World Series website of the 10 longest home runs in history, and Alonso's got 5 of them by himself.
Yeah.
I want to say his senior season with the Gators, I want to say he hit a 429, which is the longest home run in the history of Omaha.
Yeah, he hit the longest home run in the history of Omaha. He also has the longest home run in the history of Target Field. Week after the All-Star Game 2019, Mets are in Minnesota, 3 rows from the top of the ballpark.
Yeah, but that place is I could piss over that fence.
No. 3 rows from the top of the entire fucking stadium in the third deck.
Like I said, I could piss over that fence. That's like hitting it up on the roof in Old Tiger Stadium.
No. Target Field's bigger than that.
Probably not by much.
I'm going to look up the dimensions. This ball was 480 that he hit.
.339 to left, 377 left center, right center 367, right field 328.
Okay,
that's
so
short.
He hit it to left center, which is nearly 400 to get it out, and he was 3 rows from the top of the entire damn thing. Not second deck, third deck.
Yeah, but didn't one of my Cardinals, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, hit a ball in Milwaukee that hit all the way up by the slide? I'm trying to remember who that was. I can't remember if it was because Albert hadn't come back yet. I don't think it was Bader. Dylan Carlson hadn't come up yet. Might have been Tyler O'Neill.
Might have been. I want to pull out a picture of the ballpark. Okay. So if you go to the Twins website, they have a header of Target Field. You don't do it now. But this was the second section from the line, 3 rows from the top. So at least 350 just to get it out of there. It was a hanging slider. That ball was hit a mile.
You got to watch the new Momentum. They're playing actual baseball. And by the way, Cole left the team. He left Momentum because he's focusing more on his Twitch streaming.
Oh, very nice.
It's still Tosh. It's still Sim. Marika's there a lot more. So, I mean, they've got other people filling in. You actually see Kristen getting involved a little bit more with, on-camera stuff, but not actually partaking. Trev will be there. And the thing is that when Trev goes on the road, Kevin, Live Small Bunt the Ball, is his personal videographer and video editor.
Oh, nice.
So when Trevor's back in SoCal or Arizona, wherever their main facility is located, Kev's back with them as well.
Yeah, I think it's SoCal because I know he just did a picture, Sim did with his daughter. They hit 700,000 subscribers.
But they played a baseball game with a new illegal drop 5.
Stop it.
It was hilarious because now the bat got banned after all the kids in the Little League World Series started using it.
Well, it's Perfect Game that banned it. And did you see it happen in Atlanta last week?
No.
A coach in a Perfect Game travel tournament knocked out an 80-year-old volunteer umpire?
My hockey mom can beat up your soccer dad.
My baseball dad swings at elderly people like he's Pedro Martinez and fucking Don Zimmer.
Michael,
who you got for me to close it out there, sir?
Your last name in the YZ translator tonight, you went my direction, and I'm going to lob you a softball here, but I really want to hear your thought, and he's been brought up quite a few times tonight. C. McD, Connor McDavid.
This dude is the fucking real deal. Like, now, mind you, I grew up on Gretzky. I grew up on Gretzky so much that the cartoon with him, Michael Jordan, and Bo Jackson was one of my staples on Saturday mornings.
All Stars.
Yes.
Pro Stars.
Pro Stars.
Yeah, Pro Stars.
So I love Gretzky. I love Mark Messier.
Moose.
And as a broadcaster, I love PK Subban too.
Thank you. I was just gonna bring. Also, can we? Thankfully, Game 7 is going to be in Florida because if you noticed the desk setup that they have, the the concourse is so small. It's like they pulled out a $2 folding table from Big Lots where they've got the full desk setup in Florida.
Well, they took that table from Bill's Mafia. That's not Big Lots. They borrowed it from Bill's Mafia. I'm gonna say this: he's the best I've seen since Gretzky. Fuck Sidney Crosby. Fuck Malkin. Fuck Ovechkin. All of them. He is the best I have seen since Gretzky.
Here's one other thing we didn't bring up during our conversation about which is the bigger choke. Edmonton is 48 hours away from not only playing for their first Stanley Cup championship since 1991, they're playing for Canada's first title in 31 years.
Did you see what happened the year after Montreal won the Stanley Cup?
The Rangers.
No. This year, Gary Bettman took over as commissioner of the NHL.
Yeah.
Gary Bettman is now overseeing Canada winning a Stanley Cup.
That reminds me of something I was watching on Twitter. Mary Santora had a recent thing that they went to a funeral for her boyfriend's 99-year-old aunt. It's like, you realize how old that is? She's older than toasters.
Sliced bread was invented after Betty White was born.
She grew up in an era where they said, "Oh, well, bread's just going to be soft, I guess."
Nice. Real quick before we wrap up, it is 9-5 Texas A&M, bottom 9 in Omaha.
Aren't they going for their first ever national championship?
I believe they are. And I was shocked Tennessee was the number 1 overall seed. That was 2 or 3 SEC teams in the World Series. Florida, Kentucky, and Tennessee. You would think it was a basketball tournament.
A&M's in the SEC. A&M's the.
No, they are. That's 4 SEC teams.
Yeah.
By the way, you brought up Florida Lady Gators making the College World Series final in softball. How about Oklahoma 5 in a row?
That's just absolutely disgusting. And yet what's funny is I actually I was watching momentum videos most of the afternoon, and I saw where Paige was dicing them up.
And what's her name? Erica Alo was playing for the Bananas.
Yeah. I did not get picked for the lottery for the Bananas next month or August. Yeah.
I got to ask my sister. Although she's got enough on her brain right now.
I would have loved to have gone with, and I'm not going to name names here, but you know who I'm talking about. I would have.
Yeah, I think that would have been a nice time. Because it's the Bananas. It's fucking great.
But there's still, there's Guardians games, there's Captains games.
I'm telling you, a Captains game would be fun.
because it's not too far between where I'm located and where this person's located as well. I mean, Eastlake's kind of intermediate, I would think.
Yeah, no, it's right in the middle. Or close to, and plus, Jim, Biagio's.
Biagio's.
Biagio.
Where I was on Monday, there was Dave's Cosmic Subs next door.
Oh, you're killing
But they were
me.
closed by the time I left.
We have a place down here called Larry's Giant Subs.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. Gluten-free menu. One of my customers down here runs one. She said that in her store, they actually wipe down, glove up, go to the gluten-free stuff, and then resume. And I'm like, this needs to happen. They have a Cuban sandwich that they do, James.
Why am I getting the idea of, I don't know why this popped into my head, but why am I thinking when you said that they wipe down with and go to the gluten-free and all that, why am I thinking of the Married with Children episode where they're on the fat cruise where they herd them all in, and then there's the clothing optional everyone?
You're wrong.
That where
Vaguely.
The super hot entertainment director comes in and Al goes, Jefferson, I'm dreaming, pinch me. And Jefferson just smacks him right through the face. I said, pinch me, not punch me.
Oh, my God. So next week, James, same bat time, same bat channel, right?
We got next week, and then we got right after the 4th of July, and then we're on hiatus for a few weeks.
What would we say, 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks off, because then we ramp up. Because at that point in time, we are talking, John and I may be indisposed because of the game by the time that happens. That's the 19th of July, the 26th of July. I will not be available. I am going to opening night of Deadpool and Wolverine. But we will do a show on the 27th. But right after that, we got to ramp up. We got college football. We got the NFL coming up. We got baseball.
Yeah.
Training camps.
Yeah, training camp opens in a couple of weeks.
We also have postseason baseball runs. I mean, right now, the National League wild card, there are 3 games separating 9 teams. And my Mets are back in it, thank Christ. So, dude, you have no idea how bad I've needed this run.
Real quick, while I brought up Michael Cole, did you actually hear anything about Monday night?
No, I didn't.
There was a debut at the very, very end of Monday Night Raw. And a lot of the names are not going to sound very familiar. Nikki Cross, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy.
Oh, the Wyatt family thing.
The Wyatt Six.
I did see that. Did you see they hijacked McAfee's broadcast?
Yeah.
Did you happen to see anything with SmackDown the other night?
With which I didn't watch all of it, but I did actually see the clips. What part about
the CM Punk Paul Heyman thing?
I was going to say, did I see Paul Heyman asking Punk to take him with him? Did I see Jacob Fatu debut, or did I see Drew McIntyre quit Raw and then show up on SmackDown to assault Punk, setting up for SummerSlam in Cleveland?
Yes. Did you also see Cody came out with a bat to help Punk and said, I took out one head of the table, I'll take out the next one?
Yep.
By the way, the Bloodline thing, it's definitely going to be War Games. It's definitely going to be War Games.
It's going to have to be. Speaking of which, we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but we're going to get in the next few weeks, we're going to get Blood and Guts 3 in AEW. So
nice.
We've got the Bucks, Jack Perry, and Okada, and Blood and Guts is 5-on-5. And we're wondering if it could be a returning Hangman Adam Page. we don't know who's going to be Team AEW at this point, although there's a possibility Swerve's going to be a part of it, but we don't know anybody else at this point.
Here's my question. Are we doing a SummerSlam special?
If I care enough.
It's in Cleveland.
Because of the fact of, Phil Isha is going to be in one of the main events because it's going to be a 2-night thing.
Really?
From what I'm hearing.
Wow. I still find it hilarious Joe Hendry was on in NXT. Have we ever figured out who he is?
Not yet, but don't prop him up too much because I don't want him taking away TV time from my boy Ethan Page.
Okay.
One other thing I've actually heard is that when they're ready to return, finally, I want to say there's a possibility of a sixth member of the Wyatt Six. Lexi Kaufman. Who
Really?
You know is Alexa Bliss.
That would be interesting.
Abigail.
That would be interesting. Speaking of interesting, first and third, 1 out in Omaha. Tennessee's making a comeback. Let's see what happens.
I could care less about either of them.
You know what though? It's still college baseball.
It is. It's entertaining. And you know what? The one thing I actually do like is that the bats that they use now are a little bit more. They sound more like wood, so you don't hear ping.
Here's a question. So Condon, the one who won the Golden Spikes, is 4th all time in home runs in a single season in college baseball, ever. Former Cardinal Lance Berkman is 1 above him. But who is the all-time leader?
Alonso.
No, it's not Pete. It is a Pete, but it's not Pete Alonso. It is former Philadelphia Philly Pete Incaviglia. Brother hit 48 bombs.
Wow. Real quick, because I know you've been following a little bit of the College World Series.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Guardians and you've got the number 1 overall pick, are you going Condon? Are you going pitcher? Or are you going Joe Caglione from Florida? And I'm not saying that as a Florida homer because the boy can pitch and also sock 30 bombs this year.
I personally go Caglione only because if you can develop him as a pitcher, which we know the Guardians can develop pitching better than anybody out there, let him be Ohtani. Because now what you'll have 6 years of a guy who can pitch and DH.
He's a left-handed pitcher and first baseman, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about is that if you actually let him be a hitter, now you've got that log jam at first base because now if you're the Guardians, now you brought up Daniel Schneemann, who's playing very well, can play third and short. Rocchio's coming up. You've got an MVP caliber Jose Ramirez, who's only 31.
Then if
time out of it's
if you have the log jam, then I almost go pitching
because you got David Fry who could play first and is actually starting to hit with a little bit more power. You've got Naylor. You've got
is Condon a third baseman outfielder?
He is a third baseman outfielder. I kind of like him because you could put him in the outfield because you're certainly with the fact that he plays the left side of the infield, you're not going to move Jose off third and you're not going to move Brian Rocchio off a short.
Well, he's not a shortstop.
Right.
The thing is, can Stephen Kwan play right field?
I want to say Kwan's in left just because of how well that Tyler Freeman and why can't I think of his name right now?
David Fry.
Oh, and David Fry also plays in right as well.
Ball game. Texas A&M wins game 1.
Game 2 tomorrow.
I think so.
Give me something to do because there ain't shit on TV at all tomorrow.
I'll be out and about. So we will see you guys as we hit 2:34. We will see you guys next week on Saturday. And have a good rest of your week. And please, whatever God you pray to, I don't want to do another in memoriam at the beginning of the episode. It's getting fucking depressing.
It is. And let the rain come, please, because we want to shut our air conditioners off a little bit. Please.
I live in South Georgia. That thing stays on year fucking round.
It's going to be nice not to have the ceiling fan or the air conditioner running tomorrow for the first time since probably Father's Day. Scoreboard. You can put it on the board.
We'll see you guys next week.
Good night, everybody.